All right, on this Garlic Marketing Show, we're going to talk about empowering small marketing teams with AI. We're going to talk about all the tough things around AI, how to overcome them, the two most important things in AI for your team, how to roll out AI in your business, the important C word, context in AI, the biggest failures in adoption, and how a one-person marketing team was amplified into a 5 to 10-person marketing team. All on this Garlic Marketing Show with Ben LeDonni. Ben, say hi.
Hi, and hello, everyone.
And before we get started, of course, it's brought to you by videocasestory.com. One of the best things you can use in AI is to feed it your stories. Go to videocasestory.com where we can help you collect, craft, and deliver those so you can feed that into your AI and create amazing content. All right, let's get started.
My name is Gino Wickman. I was introduced to Ian, and that's what brought me into this video world and got me embracing this video world. And Ian did exactly what I hoped. He got me really comfortable with putting videos out to the world and having a great strategy around putting videos out to the world, because there's so much more than just shooting a video. And so the way that he positions those videos, optimizes those videos, he's done a great job.
All right. I've got my great friend Ben LeDonni on, and Ben is an agency owner, agency leader, and a leader in marketing. Worked with tons of B2B as well as B2C campaigns, and seen the evolution of agencies. But now the evolution, as we all know, is AI, and everyone's trying to scramble for it, trying to figure it out. And the big thing is it's a tool for empowerment. It's not a tool to get everything done automatically. I think that's where people are failing. And that's why I brought Ben on, because he's created a system to help empower internal teams. Ben, thanks for being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ion. Always great to talk to you.
It's always fun. And, this is a big subject, AI, empowering your team with AI. Before we get into how you do that, how did you figure this out? At what point were you all working on AI and like, hey, we need to be using this and empowering our team with it?
Yeah. Well, so when it first started developing, I guess ChatGPT in November 2 years ago, I guess it was, not last November, the November before, but that big launch and that whole hype, we were experimenting right away. Like, well, what could we use it for content creation? Just giving backstory, the agency is very B2B focused. It's very content heavy in terms of content strategy. And we do a lot of strategy for B2B companies, and then tactically some of the content marketing, CRM, all of the nurturing type stuff that has to happen to drive MQLs into SQLs into opportunities. So content's a conduit for that. AI, ChatGPT is like, hey, check this out. We could do this really easily. And we were like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. How would this work? So we were experimental back then. We had one client, been a longstanding great client, who we said, hey, we'd like to experiment with this new tool when Jasper came out. And Jasper, if you're not familiar with it, is a tool that does a lot like what ChatGPT does. It's basically built with ChatGPT's APIs. So it will generate content for you, but Jasper is basically like a marketing assistant platform to create that content, train it on your brand first, train it on your company first, your tone, how you like to speak. So that company, that client of ours, allowed us to test it out, and we loaded up his brand and his profile, and we're able to crank out so much more content for him. That drove SEO value up, that drove his email marketing campaigns to be better, and then ultimately freed us up to do a lot more with him, things like lead forms and landing pages and info guides and things like that we couldn't get done with the time that we had before.
That's awesome. And, because it's a time thing. It's interesting. I was watching this thing, because SEO now, everyone thinks it's tricks, and it's like, it's fundamentals, but it's a time thing. It's like deciding today. I just saw that hey, SEO schemas are dead, right? And you can sure still use SEO schemas. And if you're not familiar with that, you guys can look it up. But the SEO expert said, it's just not a good use of your time, because that's what SEO is. That's what all this is. Once you get the core fundamentals down. But I think also you need the core fundamentals of copywriting, good copywriting, understand storytelling, understanding the process. And that's where humans come in. So as you all were developing this, right, what, because I think everyone's trying to figure out AI, what were the big aha moments when you're like, this is what we need to change, this is what we need to do different with AI versus just plugging stuff in?
Yeah. So, I mean, context, I would say, is number one. There's two things. There's adoption and training, and then there's context. I'll start with context first, but you talk about SEO, just use that as the example. If you searched for, law firm near me, you're not giving the search engine a ton of context on what you're trying to solve, right? Did you get in an accident? Are you injured? Are you looking for a divorce attorney? Like, what is more context? So the first thing we learn about AI is the production, especially for marketing content, is much better when you give it more context, which is why Jasper's great, because you're able to give it the context of the brand and the tone and all the things that you want to train it on before you actually start asking it to produce anything for you. And that was a big eye opener. I think a lot of people that try AI, they go in and they put one prompt in, they get the result, and they're like, it's okay. You didn't give it enough context, right? So that's kind of the first thing I would say, because I'm not usually afraid of new technologies. The fear and adoption thing, though, that came up as we started hearing people saying well, what if it comes up with the wrong information? What if this replaces my job, and all those types of things? And candidly, like you said, time is your biggest asset. So from a company standpoint, if you're trying to get more done, the best way to do that is to free up your own time on your current teams. So this marketing AI accelerator that we did was basically like, hey, we realized that we were able to get more done by what we did for our client, for that client, by leveraging this. If we could just get people over the hump around what they're afraid about and how that time can be redeployed to things that they could be more creative doing or spend their time doing, then we could really move the needle with the program.
Yeah, I think that's, like you said, it's an education and adoption thing. It's not just here, go use the tools, right?
Yep, exactly. Well, that's why there's a lot of applications of AI, right? And so, being a marketing agency and really staying in the marketing lane as far as what can the marketing team do with it, the best way to adopt and educate is, in our minds, through a very structured process. So you take a marketing team, and this program that we basically launched is for anybody that's kind of like one man show, one woman show at a marketing team or business development, all the way upwards to maybe a team of 5 that someone's doing content, SEO, maybe design, and so on. And really get them over the hump as far as that education. How, what do you need to know first off, but also go through the process of this is 6 weeks. In the first week, we're going to just ask the right questions, gather the right materials, set things up for you, because that's the other thing, Ian, is people have been saying, oh, I want to do that, but I haven't allocated the time to do it. Well, it's kind of like a 401k plan. You want to invest, and then later on you turn around and you're like, I should have invested a lot more. 40 years later, hey, start now, do it now. You'll free your time up later. You really can't afford to not do this type of stuff,
Yeah.
So.
No, and I think it is a time of the essence thing, because everyone is rushing to it. And I remember, looking back coming back to SEO, we were talking about this, another agency owner, actually, we went for a boat ride, and we were talking about, back in the day, right? Back in the day of SEO, back in the day of Facebook ads, when things were super easy and you could get fast results because not everyone was doing it. And I think that's an important part of this too. It's not just like a 401k, hey, you invest a little, you might miss out on a little bit of investment. It's a time thing, because if you're the first one to do this and the first one to really take advantage of these programs, you're going to be able to get leaps and bounds ahead of your competitors, right?
Oh, I love that you brought up competitors. You just have to assume that they're using it, right? And if a competitor has a new tool, let's just take building a house, and you were using a hammer and nails before, and now this new builder has the most amazing power machinery, and you're just still at some point I need to learn that. So you really, the competitive aspect of it, and just losing sleep at night, assuming that your competitors are using this to accelerate themselves, I think is the way that I would be thinking of it. It's the reason we dove into using it for ourselves as well. I just thought other marketing agencies are going to be adopting it. Clients themselves are going to be adopting it. We better be on the forefront of it, just like we were with responsive design, just like we've been with SEO, like WordPress, all the things that we've learned over time. So
yeah, you got to be on the forefront with, especially marketing, because it's just shifting so fast. Now, you mentioned Jasper. What other tools do you find as the core tools that someone needs to be using in AI? Is it just ChatGPT? Is it just Jasper?
So, I mean, it's tough. Like, as far as like internally, we use ChatGPT, and do have a Teams account. You know, there's that. I think over time there will be adoption with that from an operations and fundamental standpoint. As far as like the services that we provide and what tools we feel comfortable like consulting with companies to integrate, it's way more Jasper and Canva. Canva is amazing. Canva's got really
Yes.
great AI tools. I don't know if you've experimented with
Oh
them,
yeah,
but
it's amazing.
they're amazing. I mean, even to the point where you first saw Photoshop, where you could kind of like highlight a section and then drag it over and create like basically, I don't know what they call it, but magically create what wasn't ever there in the picture.
Yeah.
Canva does that too. Canva's online, a lot cheaper than owning a Photoshop license. And from what I understand, a lot of these marketing teams have their brands already loaded in there, their guidelines already loaded in there. So the powerhouse in our minds is Jasper and Canva combined.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. That's awesome. And yeah, Canva's an amazing, amazing tool. But once again, it's like you go into there, and I've been doing marketing, a little bit of marketing in my life, and it's just overwhelming to me, right? Because it's like, oh my God, look at all these things I can do. when someone wants to start using these tools, what do you feel are the first steps for like their marketing team? What are the first things that they need to be doing?
Oh, all right. So it's kind of hard because I would probably say it's a little bit different for each one. I mean, our process for our rollout on the Marketing AI Accelerator is first and foremost, get an initial call to understand what is already in use. Like, that's probably standard across anybody is what do we already have licensed to? What are we already using day to day? What's our sentiment and like understanding and adoption level right now across the team? Probably is step one, no matter what, which is crazy because that feels like digital transformation from day, like at its core. If you were going to adopt a new CRM or you're going to adopt a new technology, that's the first thing you do anyway. So I think it does stay there first. But then it's gather the assets. Like, what do we have to train this AI on our context? I said context before, but like, we already know we're going to gather your brand guidelines. We're going to gather up your, editorial content, your voice and tone. Maybe that's through a sample of content. That's one of the ways Jasper can create voice and tone is just upload a bunch of content and it will identify it. And then, basically like load that in, set the systems up, set up the users that need to be in the systems, and then provide training and cadence as things are happening with that. I've seen it, digital transformation, time and time again. You might sign up 100 employees on a platform and, 3 months later, go look back at how is that really being used? And it's, 10 people have logged in. There's a lot of that rinse and repeat that has to happen to make sure it's being adopted.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, adoption's everything. I mean, I remember, when you talk CRM, right? And I worked at a company and they rolled out a CRM and no one could use it. And so if you spend $1 million on this awesome tool, if you're not training them to use it, like we talked about, it's useless.
Yep.
And what do you see as the big mistakes that companies are using in trying to get this into their business? Like, because it sounded pretty straightforward what you said, but obviously if it were easy, everyone would be doing it.
Yeah. I mean, the first mistake is that I think there's like what you would call preconceived notions that are incorrect at the higher level of who's making the decision. We don't use that because it creates false information. I read that online. And then they just shut off to it. That's the first issue that I see. McKinsey had a study end of last year, mid-year last year. I think it was August it was released. And like the number one issue is that fear that it's got the misinformation and that, we're going to use it and it's going to steal our information. So privacy concerns came up in that. So to me, those are the things that are holding everybody back. And they're the same reasons why I would be like, that's why it's not getting adopted. And you need to get over that. So for example, like go look at the terms and conditions on some of these platforms about privacy. They're not using the data in some of cases, in the right cases, they're not using your data to train the LLM and it's not going to go anywhere. If you find the right system that your privacy concerns are met, and your compliance is okay, you can use them. You're over the privacy issues. The fear of the misinformation. Like, again, did you put in one prompt and get one result, or did you put in 6 prompts and like train it over time with context to really see that you could get better results? Like, input in, output out. Like, you got to put in better input to get the output that you want. And then the other one I guess I'd layer in there is, as you're adopting it, is just assuming that it's going to do more than it should. So, we would never take content and just throw it out on a page and not read it and say, this is great, use this on your website. Like, no, I mean, it's AI generated. You're putting something out there from a marketing perspective to educate your audience. You have to review it. It may have like helped you put the outlines of the painting in there, but it's a little bit of a color by numbers. You got to go in and color everything in.
Yeah. Know? No, I mean, but if a human being writes it, you have to review it, right? And humans make mistakes. Just today, we had a mistake made on a video, and it's like we have 2 or 3 layers of proofing, and sometimes stuff slips through too. So, like, yeah, it's your point. It's, but you've got to build that in, don't you? You have to build in the systems. And I think this is where it's important to have systems. And I'm assuming you all build in review systems as well on the content side.
So as far as like what they should be doing to review them, I think that's part of training. So,
Gotcha.
Just communicating to them like, well, what's your level of acceptance of how much you should be reviewing it, how much you should be leveraging it. That's all going to be case by case, right? Like, so just boundary test that. You would take like a really big law firm with compliance and all that stuff that has to go through. They're going to need a lot of layers of review. Where if you took, somebody that's a little bit more rogue, a freelancer, one-man show, that they're going to be like, hey, I'm going to use whatever I can to help accelerate my time. So it's case by case. But the review system is really, I call it the bookends. Like, use the AI to help you create strategy, thought-provoking information, like be a voice in the room as you're thinking through things, and then use it. And you have to give it the direction there on that bookend to be able to get the content created. And then on the flip side, you need to be on the other side on that bookend, reviewing it, making sure it's right, and then being able to like put it out there in a way where you feel comfortable about it. So we kind of train with that model.
Gotcha. And now, so, you've had success, right? You did it yourself, and now you have this accelerator program for training people, and you've had a couple successes already with this accelerator program, correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
Can you tell me about them?
Yeah, so we trained there was a 1-woman marketing department at a big roofing contractor, and she was getting maybe 2 to 3 posts out on social media per week. She had the desire to really get more email content out there. They, used Constant Contact to get emails out to their audience. And she said, we try for quarterly. I would love to get to monthly. And sometimes I just don't know what to say. So I get stuck and I'm just like last minute trying to create stuff. And we said, okay, well, how much time are you spending about right now? And she said about 5 to 10 hours per week on trying to get the content together for social media. And when I'm able to put some time towards the email stuff. But and a lot of that is the context switching because she's doing a lot of different things, right? Mm-hmm. So ultimately, when we set her up with Jasper and Canva, which they already had an account, we just showed her how to use it. We basically walked her through, here's how you can use Jasper to come up with ideas around what content you could create, and then to create the content yourself for social media, for email campaigns, for landing pages. They've got this great feature where you upload call it like an infographic or a PDF downloadable, and then say, build me the campaigns, and you check the boxes to say, I need a social media posts for LinkedIn, for Instagram, you check those boxes. You say, I need web page landing copy. I need SEO optimized blog post, whatever. And it just spits all that out and gives you a canvas to work within to change it and edit it. So ultimately, when we trained her on all of that, it took about 4 sessions with her. We did a lot of the work of training Jasper, and now she's spending 2 to 3 hours per week on this, and she's producing twice as much social media content and getting emails out monthly, which was like right there amazing. But she's also creating imagery that she used to have to go source using Canva, and able to just be more creative in the way that she does things because she's got like an AI assistant in her marketing department now that she didn't have before.
It's amazing. It is amazing. So, I mean, it's like, all of a sudden you can have another $100,000 worth of employees, right, a year for a fraction of the cost, and also utilizing, I think this is an important part, because how much exceptional talent, it's like strategic talent, is wasted on, stuff that really could be done by a machine, right?
A ton. I mean,
Yeah.
the Industrial Revolution, we went through this before, right? And, it's hard and some people don't embrace it, but ultimately, there are machines that can do this stuff for us now. We think it's amazing that we do it, but ultimately it's pretty monotonous sometimes.
And, with all that, how has that affected her marketing? How has it affected the results?
So a couple things. One, back to the time conversation. If I can free my time up to be more strategic, I could get more done in my time and be more creative, number one, and more competitive, number two. Like I'm able to come up with other ideas of content that I couldn't put together before. I might be able to do 4 webinars in a year instead of 2, because I could come up with a little bit more of the back office content creation, slide outlines, all those types of things. The brand's consistent. I can grab imagery from wherever I want. So that acceleration of time and that ability to repurpose the time, just in my mind, it allows you to move faster in the ways that you want to and to reach the audience. The other thing is, like, we don't train on this. We don't really know it all that well from a marketing standpoint, but from what I've heard out there, there is definitely opportunity to use AI to help with some of the research and how to be competitive. So maybe a good example for us is, like, you could upload SEO keyword terms and you could upload a little bit more of your content, and then you could revise your content based on the SEO keyword terms. So there's opportunities to also leverage the technology to, be strategic that help you competitively.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, one of the things little hack I always do is ask AI, what am I missing? Right. And because you get so close to it, and it can give you a logical, and that's where it becomes a tool, and it becomes an assistant, not the end all be all. Because I do get people that come to me like, well, we can just make the content in AI. I'm like, you can't just make the content. You can't just be like, make me a 1,000-word article on this. But it needs to come from strategy, and you need to have someone reviewing it, and you have someone posting it, and you need to have someone going down and getting the results for you and measuring it. And that's where it's awesome that you have this training. So tell me a little bit about the training, the Accelerator.
Yeah. So it's a 6-week program. Basically, we can't take on too many people at one time because we do take it through pretty personalized. But we're able to do about 2 companies per month. And we just really launched it in January. We had been testing it towards the end of last year. But basically, we take you through that 6-week program where the first week we're getting on a call and we're understanding a little bit of the makeup of the team, who's adopting what technologies, what's in use. And then we go from there into gathering up the assets that are needed to be able to train Jasper and be able to make sure that we're onboarding the content into Jasper in a way where you're basically set up. That case study really for that is, or the reason why that's important is because so many times people want to do that, but then it's not anybody's real job to do that work. So we're doing the hands-on there in weeks 2 to 3. Then we get back together, we demonstrate, like, hey, here's how you could use it to create content for yourself. Let's show you how it's working. Again, that's on another Zoom call where we're talking through it and demonstrating, getting some questions. After that, they're supposed to go in there and use it and try and start adopting it, which we expect that there were people that will just hit a little bit of a wall, and some people will be embracing it. We come back together, we talk all through that, understand a little bit more about where there's pain, and do some additional training on that to be able to leverage it. A lot of times there's fine tuning on the actual, like, brand and message, and it said this and it shouldn't say that. And so we, change some of those things. And then again, give some time for it to be used, generate some additional content with it once we are on another call to be able to say, here's how it works, and get any of the final questions. And hopefully it's a little bit like we've held the back of the bike as they start pedaling, let go, and they're able to just keep going. In one of the 2 times we've, been basically the team that they then rely on to be able to help create additional content or leverage the tool ongoing. So that's always a possibility, but ultimately we just want to deliver a lot of value to people that could be using this for their marketing.
Gotcha. Nice. And we'll put a link to it. You can sign up at go.bnpengage/AI Accelerator. program. There's dashes in there, so click the link in the show notes. We'll put a link down to it below, and you can always follow Ben on LinkedIn. Ben, so who is this ideal for?
Oh, so it's any company looking to grow, has been investing in marketing or looking to invest in marketing, has a team of anywhere from 1 to 5, I would say, that's responsible for their marketing efforts. A lot of times that falls into a category of companies where they're probably about, 5 or 10 million upwards to 150, because of the size of team that they have. But industry wise, we've done a payments company, and we've done a roofing company, and we're talking to many others, like one that's more in the medical field. I don't believe that there is like this industry shouldn't really learn these technologies and know how to use them. There are definitely industries that are going to have a little bit more issues around privacy and compliance that I think may have issues with this, but otherwise we could talk.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it's a bargain right now. Go check it out. I mean, even if it was $50,000, it's still cheaper than hiring and training just one more marketing assistant, much less building out an entire team. This is awesome. I mean, folks, AI is here. You've got to start using it. You've got to get it adopted. You've got to get it working. Ben, thanks so much for talking to us about how to put in AI. Any last words about AI and getting it done?
No, I just appreciate, Ian, that we were able to have this conversation. You let me geek out with you. I guess if I had to give one thing, one piece of advice, it would be don't be afraid of it, learn it, and then make your decisions based on what you've learned.
Awesome. Yeah. So make sure to follow Ben. Make sure to check it out. Comment down below if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts, how you're using AI, what your favorite tools are. Ben, thanks again for being on the Garlic Marketing Show.
Absolutely. Anytime.
And thank you all for taking Ben and I on our journey. This has been Ian Garlic and the Garlic Marketing Show.